Ukrainian forces conducted an armored assault near the town of Toretsk, where intense fighting unfolded around a fortified enemy position. According to available field recordings and operational accounts, the events took place during an autumn offensive west of Toretsk, where a Ukrainian T-64BV tank with the call sign Molot was ordered to support an infantry advance. The mission required the crew to traverse open terrain under constant surveillance from enemy drones, bypass a minefield, and reach direct fire distance from a key defensive strongpoint. The tank was crewed by Commander Andriy, known as Granite, driver Taras, and gunner Alexei, all of whom had significant combat experience. Their unit had previously endured several critical engagements, and command entrusted them with this operation due to their coordinated performance under fire. The vehicle began its movement at dawn, initially advancing along a tree line to reduce visibility for enemy reconnaissance. The situation escalated when reconnaissance detected hostile equipment moving toward the tank's route. The crew received a radio warning and accelerated across an exposed section of the field. Enemy positions opened fire almost immediately. The first incoming shell missed, prompting the gunner to return fire, successfully striking the source of the attack. The tank began maneuvering sharply to complicate enemy targeting, while the commander prepared for intermittent stops to enable precise shots despite the risk. Ukrainian infantry, positioned 1.5 kilometers behind the enemy line, monitored the unfolding battle, preparing to advance once the tank broke through the initial defenses. Drone operators coordinated with infantry command, which in turn relayed real-time adjustments to the tank crew. As Molot approached the first trench line, the commander ordered a switch to high-explosive rounds. A direct hit forced enemy troops to retreat deeper into their positions, allowing the tank to breach the wire obstacles and enter the defensive perimeter. Inside the enemy line, the fighting intensified. A soldier armed with an anti-tank grenade launcher fired at close range, striking the tank's side screen but failing to penetrate the main armor. The crew responded with machine gun fire, neutralizing the attacker. Assessing that the tank remained operational, Granite chose to continue the mission rather than withdraw, as retreat would have jeopardized the infantry assault already underway. As the operation progressed, Ukrainian infantry began advancing behind the armored breakthrough. A squad led by a sergeant with the call sign Crit moved in short bounds, using available cover while carrying additional ammunition and communications equipment. Meanwhile, the tank pressed deeper into the defensive network. The next target was an enemy command post located in the basement of a damaged building. According to reconnaissance, it served as the primary coordination hub for defending forces in the sector. The gunner received target coordinates and fired at approximately 400 meters. The first round penetrated the wall, and the second collapsed part of the roof, forcing personnel inside to flee. At the same time, Ukrainian infantry reached the first trench line previously breached by the tank. Soldiers began clearing remaining resistance positions. Crit checked underground shelters using smoke grenades to reduce the risk of ambush. A radio operator reported the successful capture of the line, prompting command to order immediate consolidation in anticipation of a counterattack. Based on earlier patterns, defending forces were expected to attempt to retake lost ground quickly. The tank then advanced to a second defensive belt where enemy resistance increased substantially. Reinforcements had arrived, and several anti-tank teams had taken positions. Granite instructed the gunner to engage them sequentially. The first was destroyed with a direct hit, and the second fired but missed. A third position launched an anti-tank guided missile, prompting the driver to react instantly, altering course as the missile passed close to the turret. The gunner returned fire and neutralized the launcher crew. Infantry units continued to follow the tank at a distance of about 20 meters, using it as a mobile shield while maintaining spacing to avoid concentrated fire. The situation became more complex when reconnaissance reported enemy armored vehicles approaching from the north, including 2 armored personnel carriers and a tank. Command called for artillery support. Within minutes, Ukrainian artillery delivered strikes that disabled 1 armored personnel carrier and hit the second during its attempt to maneuver. The enemy tank retreated, but also came under fire, forcing it to withdraw further. With the threat temporarily reduced, Molot resumed its advance into the settlement. The terrain posed significant risk, as damaged structures provided numerous potential firing positions. The crew reduced speed and scanned their surroundings carefully. While passing the third building, the tank was struck by a grenade fired from a handheld launcher. It hit the frontal armor but failed to penetrate due to additional protection modules. The crew responded with machine gun fire, while infantry maneuvered around the structure. After several minutes of close combat, 3 enemy soldiers inside were neutralized. The infantry continued clearing buildings while the tank advanced toward the opposite edge of the village. Securing this area was critical for controlling a road that could enable enemy reinforcements. Progress was slow, requiring methodical checks of each structure. Later that morning, Molot reached the designated position, and Granite reported completion of the first phase of the mission. The tank crew halted the engine to conserve fuel, while maintaining observation of the surrounding area. As Ukrainian forces secured their positions, reconnaissance drones detected a concentration of enemy armored vehicles and personnel approximately 3 kilometers from the newly established defensive line. Command immediately began preparing countermeasures, deploying additional anti-tank systems and redistributing ammunition. The anticipated counterattack began closer to midday, when enemy units advanced with 3 tanks and 2 infantry fighting vehicles. Ukrainian artillery opened suppressive fire, disabling 1 tank and slowing the formation. The remaining vehicles continued forward, prompting Granite to prepare Molot for direct engagement. The Ukrainian tank was positioned behind remnants of a brick wall, partially concealing its silhouette. When the enemy closed to direct fire range, the T-64BV delivered the first shot, penetrating the frontal armor of the lead vehicle. A series of exchanges followed, with enemy fire targeting Molot while the driver continually shifted position to disrupt hostile aim. The gunner struck multiple targets in rapid succession, while accompanying infantry fired anti-tank guided missiles. 1 Javelin missile disabled an infantry fighting vehicle, and another struck the tracks of a tank, immobilizing it. The attacking force eventually halted and began withdrawing under smoke cover. After the counterattack subsided, Ukrainian units focused on reinforcing the captured lines. As evening approached, Molot received orders to withdraw for resupply and maintenance. The driver guided the tank away from the combat zone, and the crew returned to the command post where they were met with formal recognition for their performance. Commanders highlighted the tank's role in breaching the defensive system, neutralizing enemy armored assets, and enabling the infantry's advance. A technical inspection revealed several impact marks on Molot's armor, none of which had penetrated the main protective layers. This reinforced assessments of the vehicle's survivability and the effectiveness of its defensive systems. 1 infantry soldier who accompanied the tank during the operation displayed his protective vest, which bore 2 shrapnel marks, noting that the gear prevented serious injury. The incident underscored the importance of modern equipment on the front line. The operation near Toretsk demonstrated the coordinated capabilities of tank crews, infantry units, artillery teams, and drone operators. Each component fulfilled its role, allowing Ukrainian forces to overcome fortified defenses and repel a counterattack. The mission was cited as an example of integrated combat operations regularly taking place along the front, where Ukrainian personnel continued to defend their positions under demanding conditions. The report concluded with acknowledgement of the ongoing efforts of service members whose actions, while not always visible to the wider public, contribute directly to national security. Viewers are encouraged to subscribe to stay informed about further operational analyses and field reports.